It is my honor, it is my pleasure at this time to introduce our greatest education governor for 2013, Governor Jerry Brown.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm not there with you, but this remote hookup will have to do the job. I want to thank all the delegates that are there assembled, the members of NEA, but particularly Dean Vogel and all the delegates from California, from CTA. Thank you for all your hard work. And I'm glad you mentioned Proposition 30. It was definitely counter to the drift that we've seen over the last few years. And it was something that took a lot of courage and a lot of risk. Without the California Teachers Association, we would not have been able to put Proposition 30 on the ballot, much less pass it with over 55% of the vote. And I want to say a couple of things about that proposition. First of all, CTA and the teachers took a big risk, because had that proposition been voted down, public schools would have been cut by over $5.5 billion. That was the stakes. Now, of course, it was quite a motivator, and the people responded in a very affirmative way. Secondly, without the voter support and the participation, that Proposition 30 would not have commended itself. And yes, as was just said, the cutbacks were very much on the minds of the people of California. Proposition 30 passed because people cared a lot about their schools. And also, it's important to note that there was a quarter-cent sales tax, so everybody had some skin in the game. Those at the highest commanding heights of our economy, those who make more than $500,000 a year, they had to pay more, and those who earned $1 million had to pay 3% more. And now California does have the highest income tax of any state. But we're putting that money to work for our future, for our kids, for our teachers, and for making our community really work in a way that's responsible and is creative. So for all of that, thank you, teachers of California. Thank you, teachers of America. This challenge, and I've been listening to some of your speakers, we are in quite a fix in this country, and I want to give you some context for this business about school reform, school change. This is not a new thing in the last 4 or 5 years. School reform, in my lifetime, is coming up every 10 years. Somebody runs for office attacking the public schools with their silver bullet that they're going to make it all better. And for decades, we've been trying one thing and then another thing and another thing. There's one tendency, though, that has been constant and increasing, and that's the centralization of decision-making. First at the state level, now at the national level. In California, though, we have a very different perspective. It's been 38 years since I signed the collective bargaining law for teachers in California. We believe in teachers and the administrators deciding our fate. It's joint governance. It's not just top-down, and it's certainly not one size fits all. In California, we have 6 million students, over 300,000 teachers. We have hundreds and hundreds of school districts that are elected by people in their community. This represents the power of diversity. But that diversity only works if it has the authority and is not completely crushed and regimented from thousands of miles away. That's the stakes that we face. We're not some backwater out in California. This is the state of Google and Apple and Hewlett-Packard, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I think we can figure out how to teach kids how to read, how to teach kids how to count. That's all what schools do. And they do a lot more than that, but that's fundamental. So as we start to adopt this Common Core, I look for maximum local participation, for flexibility, for maximum participation and leadership from teachers, from the CTA, from those who are closest. When I hear a lot of this discussion about schools and learning and education, I get the idea that some people think education is a noun. Education is not a noun, it's a verb. It's a verb, and principally it's an intransitive verb. I learn, and teachers teach, and they facilitate, they create the environment. William Butler Yeats once said, although now they're questioning it might have been Plutarch, but whoever said it, it's very powerful, that learning and teaching is not filling a pail or a bucket, it's lighting a fire. And what the job of politicians is to enable teachers to light that fire, not to regiment kids like they're on parole and like they're all the same. California, we've also adopted a local control funding formula which cuts away most of the state mandates, gives maximum authority to local school districts, but also has some goals, some accountability that will be transparent and will have the flexibility. And by the way, we are giving 10 times more money than federal education is giving to the schools of California. So we give more money, we give more flexibility, because schooling in California is a partnership between teachers and kids and parents and the elected representatives. So I see this next couple of years as we try to adopt the Common Core curriculum, and I hope it's going to be uncommon in the role of teachers and students. And remember, schooling, it's still dealing with human beings who have the same brain for, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000, a couple 100,000 years. So every time they get a new formula, we have to sit back and say, wait a minute, we've been reading, we've been teaching, we've been counting for millennia. So let's move with awareness, with creativity, and with spontaneity. Yes, we want some tests. Yes, we want some order, and we want some goals, but we have to have room for the interplay between teachers and students and one another. You don't learn by hammering people. You learn by inspiring the inner drive of every human being to learn. Children are learning, they're learning as they descend the birth canal, and they're processing information at high levels of complexity, and they never stop until they get crushed often by institutions. So yes, you as you gather in an institution, keep in mind that freedom and liberty and diversity demand spontaneity, demand individuality, and demand collaboration and solidarity. So in that spirit together, let's go forth over the next year and work for the kids, work for the future, work for an America that respects people for their differences, for their potential, and not as some kind of cogs in a big corporatized system that cares more about metrics than personalities. Thanks for this award. I'll do everything I can to deserve it in the years ahead. Let's go out there and work together.